The only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. It's important that people wake up to what is going on. It's time that we read the Constitution. It is error that needs the support of government. Truth can stand alone. That was given to us by Thomas Jefferson. Thank you for tuning in to Sharon Community Television. My name is Daniel Hapney. This is The Real Story. Tonight I've got something rather interesting for you. I've met a gentleman. Actually, I got to hear him, I got to see him, then I got to interview him, and also I got to see him speak at one occasion. So the gentleman I'm going to introduce you to is Mr. John McManus. John McManus is the head of the John Birch Society right now. And I got to listen to him speak at a, I want to say a tea party event in Boston at Faneuil Hall, which I hope you get to enjoy after this, and we'll cue in for you. And also I got to interview him at what was called the Liberty Forum in New Hampshire. John's a very interesting gentleman, a former United States Marine. I believe he's been a member of the John Birch Society for many, many years. And it's interesting the stigma that the media, and I believe much of the media being manipulated or whatever, because they lie to me a lot. They probably lie to you, and you may or may not realize it. But they have, they've almost like Orwell, they've changed the way we think about words and the way we think about things based on words just because of words used. But anyway, in regards to the John Birch Society, Mr. McManus is, I believe, the president and or director of the John Birch Society at present, and they publish a monthly magazine. I believe it's called The New American. I have a copy here, at least a special edition to show you. This is their special edition on the North American Union. That's right, the thing that the media said, oh, that doesn't exist, that doesn't exist. And then they had to admit, yes, there is a Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement. And if you go to spp.org, you can read about it, how they're merging our three countries. Is that what you wanted? Yeah, I think everything's right in Mexico. And they've got freedom of speech in Canada too, right? I don't know. I got to work on that one. Maybe you should work on that one. So what we have for you is we have, once again, an interview with Mr. McManus and an opportunity to hear Mr. McManus speak. I thought it was very good. I thought he was very enlightening. I thought it was very important that you, the Sharon audience, okay, who are not going to get an opportunity to hear this or see this on any other venues, especially when you turn on your boob tube, now you've tuned into Sharon Community Television. And now that you're with Sharon Community Television, you get to see the real story. And welcome aboard. Maybe the things I say or maybe the things I present to you and stuff are going to seem foreign and strange. And many times people probably will go into denial. Oh, that can't be. I think of denial, you know. That can't be. It must be a, you know. But do your own due diligence. Find out for yourselves. Find out if what this gentleman says is not, gosh darn true. Find out if it's not important, not just for us, not just for me, not just for you, but maybe for future Sharonites, for the future, not just for the present. Maybe it's good to be forewarned. You know, they say to be forewarned is to be forearmed. That's a good thing. So what we have for you tonight anyway is a great opportunity to meet with Mr. John McManus. We get to, we'll do an interview with him and then we'll get to see him speak once again. He was speaking at a tea party in Faneuil Hall. We'll have that for you. And also some time spent or an interview spent up at the Liberty Forum in New Hampshire. So you're going to like this. Tell your friends, get your friends to tune in. If you're watching this at school in the Sharon school systems, turn the sound up loud. This guy is a great American, and people like yourself should understand that the core, I want to say the core beliefs and the core of this country is based on the rule of law and how the Constitution is important and how maybe we've kind of like drifted away from it. So here you go. Here's Mr. John McManus. Thank you for tuning in. Stay glued. It's a good thing, and once again, enjoy.
Throughout my lifetime, various leaders have essentially told us that they can do whatever they aren't specifically prohibited from doing by the Constitution. And that's backwards, dangerously backwards. James Madison is rightly known as the father of the Constitution. In one of the Federalist essays written by him to explain the Constitution, he said, "The powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite." Did you get that? Right? Few and defined. Everything else left to the state governments and the people themselves. Madison said that the few and defined powers would deal with war, peace, and contacts with foreign nations. And to the states was left the rest. Madison was aware, as were all the early Americans, that the states created the federal government, not the other way around. There's an old adage that tells us that the creature can't legitimately become more powerful than its creator. But the federal government has far exceeded the power of the states, its creator, and our nation suffers greatly because of this development. A full appreciation of the brilliance of our nation's founders is that they left the states virtually alone so that they could compete with each other to be the best state. Now, we're all here today because we want to take our country back. Right? And we will. It becomes more obvious every day that America's sleeping giant is awakening. This is all very exciting. Let me offer another story. U.S. Navy ship steaming along one night when the lights ahead flashed, the signal, turn your ship 5 degrees to starboard. Well, the ship's captain was quite indignant about this, and so he told his signalman, you send a message back, you turn your ship 5 degrees to starboard. And that prompted an immediate response. No, 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 you turn your ship 5 degrees to starboard. Well, now the captain of the Navy vessel was very irate. He told his man to send the following message. He said, I'm a captain, United States naval vessel, you turn your ship to starboard. And the final message came right back and said, I'm a seaman second class and I'm aboard a lighthouse. You turn your ship. The point, of course, is that the stripes on your sleeve, the graduate degrees you may have earned, the initials after your name, aren't nearly as important as the ground you stand on.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Daniel Happney. This is The Real Story. With me today I have Mr. John McManus. John, first off, I really appreciate you taking the time. I got to listen to you speak at the Ron Paul Tea Party, and I was very, very impressed and touched and moved and all that. So I wanted to give our audience or whatever an opportunity to listen to you and learn a little bit about your values, learn a little bit about your background, what motivated you, what you're doing, and how we and my listeners and stuff are, how they can help.
Well, fine. I'm glad to be with you. What motivated me? I want to be a free man. I want my kids to grow up in a free country. So. It goes back a long ways, I guess. My own dad was very much an anti-communist, and it got drilled into me as a youngster. I served 3 years as a Marine Corps lieutenant, and then an electronics engineer. I joined the John Birch Society in 1964, and 2 years later they asked me to join the staff. And so I told my frightened little wife that I was going to leave my job as an electronics engineer and go to work for the John Birch Society, and she wanted to know, well, do they pay? Well, they do, but you don't get wealthy, that's for sure. So in 1966 I started, and I started as what we call a field coordinator. That's pretty much a fellow with a geographical responsibility to promote the aims and goals of the John Birch Society in that territory. And 2 years later they asked me to come in the home office, which for many years was in Belmont, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. In 1989, we moved it to Appleton, Wisconsin, for many good reasons. But anyhow, in 1973, Robert Welch, the founder of the Birch Society, asked me to become the National Director of Public Relations for the organization. And I became an official spokesman. I started traveling the country, doing media events and so on. In 1991, I got named president. And I'm the president of the John Birch Society now, and it's quite an honor. I always hope I can measure up, and we go straight ahead. But that's about me. Well, what about the John Birch Society?
Thank you. I was going to say a couple things. Let me throw a couple, and you can, if you would. What I was thinking. One is first, if you could, for the people here. When you gave the talk at the Ron Paul event, you helped the audience understand the first sentence of the first paragraph of the country. If you could help, please, the viewers of Sharon understand that, and then, you know, maybe they'll get a good feel for
Well,
what,
you know, everybody gets a little schooling about the Constitution. It's usually very boring and it's usually very dry, and then you want to get rid of it, and, you know, let's get to something else and so on.